road would have gone, it would have gone all the way through here, but I'm not going to go far. I'm just going to show you how close the water is to where we actually are. So there's all the warehouses, people. So yeah, there you go. That's literally how close we are there to the docks. We're right next to it. So again, does that play another significant part somewhere in this case or others? See, that's how close you are there. There's the quays over there, and this is just one of the basins of the docks, as you can see. So yes, right, literally it's just over the road, from the news crew van, as you can see. So we're that close. Just gives you a perspective, an idea for the people who don't live in Gloucester what's actually around. It's not just roads, like I say, there's a lot here. To the left of us here as well, we have the River Severn as well. So there's a River Severn walk just down that way. But like I say, all of this is new. You wouldn't have had this road would have just gone through here. It would have just gone the right way through here and straight into town. And the reason why I talk about that a lot, and people think, well, why does it keep going on about that, is because it was really significant. Because when I first started driving, which was obviously a lot later on, in the 90s I think I started driving, the big thing that people used to do is they used to drive through town. And then they used to drive through town because you could back in them days. And that sounds crazy, but most places are pedestrianised. So for example, if you wanted to go to Argos, right, now you have to go to Argos on a retail park, but back in the day you'd drive up the high street and you'd go to Argos. You'd nip out your car for 5 minutes and you'd go to Argos. Same with the cafes, you'd do exactly the same with the cafes. You'd come up, you'd park up somewhere where you could find a parking space, okay, and then you'd go into your cafe, or you'd nip into your little shop, or you'd nip into your tobacconist, or you'd go anywhere you needed to go. But that's the point. It's different than what it is now. It is completely different, because now you can't do that. If you want to go into town, you have to park up. So you're going to need to park up somewhere, usually out of town or a multi-storey within town, and then you walk to your destination, to your shop. Like I say, but before you would drive right outside. So for example, the Clean Plate Cafe here, pop-ins. If you wanted to just pop in for a coffee, you could have just driven along here, right, you could have parked somewhere around, yeah, where there was a parking, and you could have literally just nipped in quickly and you could have gone and got a coffee or whatever. And it's just really important to talk about that, because the culture is so different now compared to what it was. You know, you don't nip into town for a coffee, you know, anymore in your car. You don't do that. Yeah, you have, like I say, you have to park up and you have to then walk to your coffee shop and then have a coffee. So I'm not saying you don't do the same things, but the way you do it is different. It's different. Now that's not all, but just local people especially, they wouldn't, they would just want to pop into places, yeah? They would, that's what we call the pop-ins restaurant, funny enough, but they would just want to pop into places. So they would take their van, they would take their car. We did back in the day, when as soon as we got our driving licence, we were going up through town, and you know, it wasn't a case of, you know, we wanted to go into town, we just wanted to go to a specific shop. We would park outside it and go in there. And that is what people did. And that is so, so important to get that across, because as we're seeing people walking up and down here, this isn't how it would have been. It would have been a big flow of traffic going through, you know, people stopping off everywhere. We just move away from this because the dogs are going a bit mad. It's not fair on them, bless them. So yeah, Gloucester Lake's obviously causing a bit of trouble down here. Well, all this is going on as well. Can't people just like leave it alone and not cause trouble? But that's Gloucester people. And then when people sort of talk about Fred West and the abuse and why didn't anyone in the street know what was going on? Why didn't anyone know that, you know, that the children were being murdered? And you know, that's a real fair point. But what I will say is just have a little glimpse of what, you know, you experience here on the camera with certain people from certain areas. They can be quite rough and they can be quite hostile. So if you imagine you were in a street like that with a lot of hostile people who didn't want to talk, there was a lot of abuse, a lot of people were hitting their kids, a lot of people were abusing, a lot of people were just doing this, that, the other, a lot of wrong was going on, drug taking, prostitution, you name it, it was all going on in one street, you know. And that's the thing. It was just not a nice area is basically what I'm saying. It was just not a nice area. And it's hard for people to believe that when they think, how can that sort of happen? It's just, I mean, I think everyone was probably so into what was going on in their own lives and the abuse and things that were going on within their own families and stuff. There you go. Named and shamed. Okay. So yeah, I can't even remember what I was saying now because there's so much going on, people. But yeah, it's hard to get it across to people, but when, you know, when you live around the areas, you know which areas are quite good areas and you know which ones are absolutely like horrific and you're just not very good at all. And that was one of them, to be fair. Alright buddy, cheers. What's he doing? Is he trying that police van, that guy?
Really good, and they were cheap too.
Fred West. Right? Oh, guys. What's the police say? You gonna dig him?
Hey fella.
Hello, are you on?
Yeah, good. What's going on?
Nothing.
There he is.
No. Where?
Well, he is. Gentleman,
No. I like him.
Yeah.
These chaps are cool. Okay, chaps.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Let's get away from you. Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Mike. I will when you're
I guess